Hello, welcome into the channel. My name is Sarah. I'm a mindset mastery coach, transformational hypnotherapist, and attachment style specialist. So, today we're talking about your favorite topic by popular demand, the dismissive avoidant. Ding, ding! Surprise! We're talking about the dismissive avoidant. Now, for transparency purposes, I am a healing fearful avoidant. Although at one point I was more anxiously leaning. So I want to talk about the dismissive avoidant, and I want to talk about particularly how they show up in the beginning in contrast to how they're showing up at the end, because it's like a what the fuck situation, right? I've been talking to so many clients and potential clients this week, and the one thing that's coming up is like rumination, repetitive thoughts, circular and cycler. I don't think that's the word. I just made it up. Circular thoughts, right? Those repetitive cycles that keep going and going, even sometimes that can persist years into the future. That's where hypnotherapy comes in. We can actually get a hold of those thoughts. We can take control of those thoughts, and we can do all sorts of amazing things with hypnotherapy. If you'd like to book a personal session with me, you can do so. There's a link to book a free discovery call below. So let's get right into today's topic. So the dismissive avoidant, how they show up at the beginning. This was one of the most perplexing things to me and to obviously all of my clients, because every single one that I've talked to this week is talking about the same thing. Like, Sarah, I can't seem to grasp cognitively, logically, I get it, but I can't seem to grasp these two separate people, the one who appeared at the beginning and then the one who appeared at the end, particularly the one who probably discarded you in some really painful manner. Not all dismissive avoidants discard, by the way. My ex-husband, I was not discarded, but I was like carefully placed over here in this box, if that makes sense. So it was like a discard, but it was like a gentle discard, if that makes any sense at all. Still very painful, equally painful, just done in sort of a different way. But a lot of you have been blindsided, especially because they showed up secure in the beginning. They showed up in a certain manner, and they may have been highly attentive in the beginning. They may have been highly sexual in the beginning, highly passionate in the beginning, and really seem to just want to be around you all the time. So that's what I want to really touch on in particular, is this notion in the beginning stages of romance, right? Where the dopamine is heavily flowing, just easily flowing from person to person, where they think that they found the person of their dreams. They are absolutely convinced in that moment that you are the answer to all of their prayers, right? That you are the one that maybe has showed up in their dreams. They're like, this is the one that finally is going to accept me, that finally understands me and gets me. And this can be so damaging later on, because then you feel like, I fell from grace. What did I do to fall from grace? And it reminds me so much of when I was a narcissistic abuse recovery coach many years ago. In fact, some of you have followed me even from that time, 8-9 years ago, where I wrote an article on Elephant Journal, and I talked about the fall from grace, the inevitable fall from grace. Because when someone puts you on that pedestal, you're destined to fall, because you're human, because you're flawed, because you have an ego, because we're all just human beings. And so they tend to put their partner up on this pedestal in the beginning of the relationship. And when they do that, they're not doing it maliciously. This is not with, malintent. This is actually a benevolent experience that they're having. They actually feel very strong about you. They feel very passionate about you, and they really want to be around you all the time. They want to be around you all the time. In fact, they may say certain things to you like, I feel like I've been missing you my entire life. I feel like I don't ever want to not be around you again. And then again, in contrast with at the end of the relationship, where they're sitting further away from you, they're probably sleeping in a separate room. You guys are leading separate lives. And then of course the, dismissal comes, the ejection from the relationship, or the discard comes, and however, whatever way it shows up. And it's so confusing, because that person at the beginning wanted you around all the time. They wanted to do things with you. They were likely planning things with you. They were planning a future with you. They wanted you to do everything with them, even the most mundane things. And then at the end of that, right, like as things started to get more serious, as you started to have more demands, really your demands were just needs, everything changed for the avoidant, the dismissive avoidant. That DA suddenly was like, whoa, I feel overwhelmed. But here's the thing. They kind of overwhelm themselves, right? Because they pull a potential partner in, they put you on a pedestal, they get you all excited. In particular, especially if you had been single for a long time and you had been craving this deep connection, looking for this deep connection, suddenly you feel like you have this deep connection with this individual. But here's what I want to say. I want to interject something here. If you're really honest with yourself, okay, and I'm all about radical self responsibility. It's not easy, but it's necessary if you really want to heal and grow and evolve and learn and then not repeat the same cycles again. If you want to step out of the cycle, you have to really take accountability. You probably noticed something in the beginning that seemed off or that didn't seem right. Something was sort of misbalanced. And you might not have been able to even really pinpoint it, but there was something about this person or this connection or relationship that maybe didn't sit right with you. And I would say it could feel something like, gosh, we're just not getting as deep as I want. But okay, it's the beginning of the relationship, so maybe that's why. Or something like this can happen. They can suddenly just break down and cry and just, I mean, shed tears. I mean, I'm talking like 20, 30 minute where they're just crying. They're just bawling their eyes out. And they might say something like, thank you for accepting me. And that can feel really strange because you're like, what do you mean? Like, accepting you? Like, who hasn't accepted you, right? That's the first thought that comes to mind is who hasn't accepted you or why are you feeling this way? And you might feel a little strange in that moment, especially if it's in the beginning of the relationship where you feel like there's so much still to learn about each other. See, a secure person, a securely attached person knows that it takes time to get to know somebody. But when you're all wrapped up in the throes of this kind of love bombing situation with a dismissive avoidant, you can often just sort of let your heart run away on you. And your mind's sort of left here. Your mind's back here and your heart's over here. Like, no, we're doing this thing. And if you've been lonely for a while, if you've lived alone, if you've, lived life alone, not just lived alone, but like done your life alone for many, many years, you probably feel like I have space for a partner. I really want this. And you might convince yourself of something like, well, sometimes people meet and they get married 2 months later and then everything works out and they're married happily ever after. And that's their soulmate. That's the exception to the rule. And it can and does happen. But if you're feeling something in your gut, I really challenge you guys, especially if you're watching my videos and you're in the beginning stages, please pay attention to that feeling, that nudge that you're experiencing. The gut is the second brain, right? We know this by now. It's so important. And it's telling you things. It's giving you warning signals, yellow flags, red flags, green flags. It's telling you what direction you should be going, where you should be looking. Maybe not why necessarily, but at least start to question things. And the one question I want you guys to ask a potential partner, or again, those of you who are still with this person, I want you to ask them how they showed up in their previous relationships and what role in particular they played in the demise of those relationships, of those divorces or those breakups. What happened? Because chances are they're not going to be able to tell you. And that is a red flag. That's not a yellow flag with a tint of red. That is a red flag, because that means they haven't taken their time to process that relationship, to process the loss of that relationship. And some of these relationships were marriages with kids. They were significant milestones in this person's life. And if they haven't processed that, how could you expect them to show up fully in your relationship or your marriage? They're not going to be able to, simply put. They're going to be unable to do so. So they show up hot and heavy. They want to be around you all the time. In fact, this is what's interesting. If you consider yourself kind of an anxious person and then you meet a dismissive avoidant, you might start to turn kind of avoidant. That's what happened to me. I typically in previous relationships showed up pretty anxious. I had done a lot of work. I became more secure. And then what happened is, because my ex-husband showed up in the beginning really anxious and clingy and wanting to be around me all the time, I thought I wanted that, but then I was like, ooh, no. But that was actually my gut saying, hey, this is too soon, too fast, right? Like, this is too much. I knew it. And so I sort of just became avoidant. I didn't know I was doing this. He didn't know he was being anxious. We were doing this subconsciously. He wanted to be accepted. He didn't want to be rejected. He never felt accepted by his father. Ding, 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 right? We don't feel accepted by our parents, and we search that out in romantic partners. Our nervous system matches up with their nervous system. So our nervous system is matched. He started as anxious. I started as avoidant. Then we flip-flopped and we would do this kind of, like flip-flopping sometimes day in and day out. And then by the end, I was anxious and he was avoidant. And that's not currently where we stand, but that's how we ended the relationship. And now I'm leaning secure. Hopefully he's starting to lean secure as well. I don't know. But this is kind of what happens when you have this anxious avoidant trap or cycle is if one is avoidant, one will be anxious. You guys can't both be anxious or avoidant at the same time. It just wouldn't work. You actually wouldn't go anywhere. You wouldn't be able to move forward. So you have this cycle playing out in these relationships. And by the end of the relationship, that avoidant person is like, you're like, where are you? The person that you met and saw and knew and fell in love with at the beginning, they're sort of nowhere to be found. And they may say things like, I just need to be alone. I just need to go work on myself. I just, I'm going to be alone forever. And, maybe I should never get married again. I shouldn't have asked you to marry me. I don't know what I was thinking. They may say things like this that are really shocking to you, especially if you, married the person. You're like, what? How did you not know that you were not marriage material? Like, it blew my mind. And I'm sure some of you are like, yes, I feel you, Sarah. It blows your mind to realize that this person had no self-awareness or not enough self-awareness to know that maybe they couldn't show up in a healthy way inside of the relationship. Then again, neither could I, right? So it's very easy to point the finger and blame. And I see so much hate for the dismissive avoidant in particular. But it's really our job to heal ourselves, to work on ourselves, and to continuously put in the work so that we become secure. Because really, the cycles that are perpetuated in our lives are up to us to change. We're inviting in people based on where we're at. It's not consciously, it's subconsciously. It's a science of attraction. And some of you have asked me to go more into that. I'll do that in another video. In fact, I have a really amazing intensive training this weekend, so I'll have lots more amazing content to give you guys next week. I cannot wait. I'm so thrilled. And I just wanted to touch on that because this can be one of the most painful experiences with this type of relationship and this type of attachment, is that they show up one way in the beginning and then they show up differently at the end. And that could, frankly be said for a lot of relationships, right? You show up like everything's great and roses and butterflies. And by the end, you guys are sort of mortal enemies. But hopefully you can understand your role in this so that you can start to change and start to heal. I can help with the ruminating thoughts. I can help with the anxiety. I can help with the sleepless nights. I can help you get your shit back together in a way that creates homeostasis and balance for you and also helps you move on. I can't help you get your ex back. I am not one of those coaches. I think that's unethical. And frankly, I don't think that it works. In particular, I know it doesn't work with a dismissive avoidant because going no contact or trying to win them back is not going to work. The only thing that's going to work is them doing the work and you doing your work. And then you come back together at a more healed place. But if you do your work and they don't, what's going to happen is you're no longer going to be attracted to that person or that type of attachment. You're going to start attracting more secure partners. And that's ultimately what you want, is it not? I don't know. Some people maybe aren't there yet. Maybe they still want their ex back. And if that's the case, we need to work through that. We need to get you to a place where your anxiety is lowered, where the codependency has been healed, so that you don't feel incomplete without this person in your life. It's okay to miss them. It's a painful, horrible experience to go through. And I so empathize with the pain that you're experiencing. And at the same time, this is your one and only life. So let's not spend any more time ruminating over something that you can't fix or is out of your control. Let's channel that energy into creative projects, into work, into making money, into loving yourself, into your pets, your animals, your hobbies, all the things that you love in this world. Let's not give any more energy into something that we can't really resurrect. It takes two to tango. It takes two people to heal a relationship and to really want to move forward in a different way. So thank you guys so much for being here. And if you wouldn't mind, just like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. All these things greatly, greatly help my channel and just help it organically grow. And I look forward to working with some of you, and also look forward to, in the next couple weeks, I plan on hosting a free online Zoom hypnotherapy session. I want to introduce you guys to it. I want you to get a feel and an experience for it because that's the absolute best way to experience it. And I'll send out, what I'm going to do is as soon as my website is up here in the next, I don't know, hopefully week or two, then I will start collecting emails, and the people who want to join that free call, I will send out emails and we'll just hop on and have a lovely time together. You guys will be able to ask me questions and you'll really get to have an incredible experience. And I really think you're going to love it. So I hope to see you guys there. Take really good care.